Mindy Peterson, and this is Enhanced Life with Music, where we explore the ways music can make our lives better and spotlight the resources you can use to enhance your life with music. My guest today is Janet Marlow. She was a guest here on episode 161, talking about her research on species-specific music for pets that's designed to calm anxiety and improve behavior and health for multiple species, including horses, cats, rabbits, birds. That conversation was more of an umbrella conversation about Janet's work and findings in general. And she was so full of information and resources that I knew immediately I wanted to have her back as a guest to talk about one of the specific pet categories. So she's back today. Since we do have a previous episode that focused on music's effect on dogs' health and behavior, I asked Janet if she could enlighten us today on how music can affect lives, enhance lives for another common pet, being cats. And before we jump into our conversation, I'll reintroduce Janet. Janet is a renowned expert in sound and its effect on animals and humans. Her research led to the creation of Pet Acoustics, a company specializing in creating music scientifically designed to reduce stress and promote well-being in pets. Beyond research and product development, Janet is an advocate for animal welfare and sound's role in animal wellness. She collaborates with veterinarians, trainers, and behaviorists. Pet Acoustics award-winning products have helped thousands of pets and pet parents, veterinarians, and rescue shelters worldwide. Welcome back to Enhance Life with Music, Janet.
Mindy, thank you so much for that wonderful intro. And it's great to be back a second time with a compliment. And I'm very excited to talk about cats because that's how it all began. So I just want to share with you, since we're going to talk about how I even started on this. And it's very interesting. This is the first time I've been introduced starting with Pet Acoustics because, as you know, I previously was a recording artist and a composer for humans.
Mm-hmm.
But the tipping point came with my cat, Osborne. So I wasn't allowed to have pets as a child. So as soon as I became an adult and had an opportunity, I ran to the shelter and I saw this black and white cat. He was about 5 months old at that time, sitting in a cage with two dogs with missing ears and stuff. I swear he said to me, "Please get me out of here." So I adopted him and we had him in our lives for 15 years.
Wow.
And he was just, our first baby.
Mm-hmm.
So he was very communicative with me and hung out with me as soon as I practice for performances on my 10-string guitar. And one day he was injured in our woods and we called him for 2 days. It was pouring with rain. He crawled out of the woods. I rushed him to the vet. For 5 days, I went to sing to him in the ICU.
Wow.
And when he passed, I just started having these burning questions about, okay, so all my pets come to my side as soon as I take my guitar out. They're not only just resting, but they're like deeply relaxed and spend time listening in the aura of the vibrations and sounds of my 10-string guitar. And I continued on my career and my recordings, but then I kept thinking about Osborne and what his life was like and my dogs were like, having music as such a profound relaxation tool. So I started reaching out to universities and getting as much data as I could. But because I knew how to record, mix, and master music, I started thinking, well, if music is used to move humans, do I want to agitate a cat with loud sounds and high frequencies? And, I want to really have music that's going to put them in a state of calm.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they require during the day. So, for example, we know that there's flight behavior, right? And there's fight behavior. But really, the mainstay of their lives is rest and calm,
Mm,
because they conserve their energy in the wild to hunt. So they continue that behavior in our homes. So I realized at some point that it can't be the same approach. I can't, all the training that I've had since day one of my life of understanding classical music and the dynamics and the tempos and the triple pianissimos to the triple fortes to the, to for the excitement and the phrasing, everything that goes into music for humans really requires the opposite approach for an animal.
sure. There's a different purpose for
A
it,
different
different
purpose for it,
function. Yeah.
right. So, I know there a lot of people play Mozart, a lot of people play Beethoven, Chopin, whatever it is, spa music, all of these things, they all have frequencies that are not appropriate for the hearing sensitivities of cats, because we'll just
Okay.
focus on cats. Um,
Yes.
so there's a physical component to sound and music for an animal, and this has taken me years to simplify the concepts. Um, is that air is a conduit for sound, and when you have music or sound that enters a cat's ear, which is triple the hearing sensitivity of a human. So
Mm.
our human capacity is 20 to 20,000 hertz, and a cat's hearing capacity is from 40 to 85,000 hertz.
Okay. Wow.
They're incredible. So that hearing sensitivity, as soon as there's a frequency that goes into the ear, that triggers the eardrum to send a nerve to the brain to decide a behavior, and that is instantaneous. Whereas we're spatial conceptual, we can say, oh, that fire engine that's incredibly loud and hurting my ears is not going to kill me as it goes
Sure.
past me. But for
Sure.
an animal, that just means I'm out of here.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm moving away from that sound.
Yeah.
So cats are incredible. And Osborne really was the one that put me on that path of understanding, and I'm forever grateful to him.
So was that sort of you observing his reaction and response to your singing when he was in the ICU that really got your attention and put you on this musical career, species specific
I
path?
I have goosebumps you just describing that, because it's bringing me right back to me doing that, and I could see when an animal is soothing and communicating back to you, they blink their eyes very slowly.
Mm.
And that's what he was doing as I was singing, and that was the signal that I knew
Ah,
I was communicating my love for him through sound
uh-huh.
that he was soothed by, and he was happy to have that soothing.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow. You could
yeah,
tell you were connecting and he was receiving what he needed from you
yeah,
at that moment.
yeah.
Wow. So you already talked a little bit about the frequencies that cats hear. Tell us a little bit more about the musical characteristics, whether it's pitch or tempo or volume that cats hear and respond to, and how that may differ from what we hear and how we respond.
Yes. So I love to just start with this imagery of when a cat, and I'm sure many of your listeners have observed a cat just sitting quietly in the ground, in the grass, just sitting, and you think that they're just kind of gazing into the air or they're just resting. But no, they are listening to the moles in the
Oh,
ground.
oh, wow.
So nature has paired animals in the most unquote natural way. So moles and cats have the same high frequency hearing.
Mm,
So
interesting.
a cat can hear a mole, but a mole can hear a cat. So it's like bats and mosquitoes have the same frequency range.
Okay.
It's just fascinating when you dive into it. So for cats to experience sound in the air, which is invisible to us. So remember, we are just, even though love humans, but we are very limited in what we can hear. And so the world of animals, which is what I've been researching for the last 25 years, is that they hear things that we don't hear, and that affects their behavior.
Hmm.
So it's been fascinating to me to understand that about cats and to be able to accommodate the composition to fit kind of the center of their hearing range without the frequencies. You don't want to have ultra high and sub low frequencies in music, which you can measure. So if that frequency is in the music, it triggers hypervigilance.
Okay.
So I eliminate that from I eliminate the highs and the lows in the music.
Okay.
And through the years, the research and the good results that I've gotten from the music that I've composed has been in two parts. One has been anecdotal evidence, but in the last 10 years, I've been able to do biometric results and analysis with a biometric collar that's made by the Pet Pace company,
Okay.
and did studies with groups of cats. Some were in Australia, some were in the UK, some were in the United States, wearing these collars. And these collars can, in real time, show me while the music is playing their pulse rate,
Oh.
their HRV, their activity level, whether they have a high temperature, low temperature. Those three are very important: the activity level, the pulse rate, and the HRV. The heart rate should be, the pulse rate should be low. And the HRV that's the statistical analysis in between the heart rates that can determine stress. So if you have a higher HRV, that means you are experiencing stress.
Okay.
And stress is what I'm counteracting with music.
Are there certain stressors that are specifically common to cats? And are they similar to, like, I know dogs really get stressed by thunderstorms. Are cats similar? Are there different stressors for cats? And are there different stressors for cats, whether they're, say, adopted or rescued as an adult versus as a kitten?
Wow, lots to say. Because cats hear 3 times more than humans, so just think of that capacity. They are moving towards and away from sounds all day long. That's the first thing in our homes. It can be the whine from the refrigerator or the rumble from a truck or an airplane or a vibration on a window. And not only that, but a cat, and I love this, they will find the sweet spot in a room
Ah,
where there is the least amount of agitating sounds, and they will stay there and rest.
okay.
Yeah. So stress for a cat is not always sound. It can also be pain. They can very often get stomach upsets. That's a stressor. Adopting, having another cat adopted into the home, that's an emotional stress. Um,
For the
the
cat who's already there.
the cat that's already there,
Okay.
or the Christmas party with your, closest 25 relatives coming in, you know, with their coats and their shoes and their vibration and their vibes, they're highly, highly sensitive creatures. And they're tough too, because they show their dislike to their environment. And a lot of people think that cats are subtle, and that dogs are very obvious if they don't like something. But quite frankly, if you look that little extra bit of time deeper into a cat's ears and their facial expression and their body language, I mean, behaviorists are well versed in this, you can see that they are telling you right there and then
Mm.
exactly what's going on in their lives.
Hmm. So tell us about some of the resources that Pet Acoustics offers for cats and their humans, and when they're best used, if it's during a thunderstorm or when you're off to work during the day and you don't know what sounds they're going to be hearing while you're gone. Tell us about that.
Well, my whole company is pet centric. So I've, through the research and the composition. So I'm kind of a businesswoman and a composer and a sound behaviorist. And so I try to bring those three roles into the products that I produce to make it just turn it on, leave it, and you're giving your cat their best lives. And
As
so
opposed to a radio where you turn it on and it might be a great song that they're starting with, but you don't know what's going to be coming on next.
yeah, well, that is a very good point. So TV and radio is not a therapy for an animal for several reasons, and I've written books on this. And that is because we as humans always perceive animals from our 5 to 6 foot perspective. However, animals live 1 to 3 feet off the floor. And I always suggest sometimes to pet parents, have you ever crawled around on the floor of your home to experience what your dog and cat is experiencing in terms of vibration and sound and environment and airflow?
Mm,
That's their world is
mm,
below us. So the music is installed into a Bluetooth speaker. Bluetooth speakers have much, much higher quality of output.
okay.
But going back to radio and TV, so TV is reflective. The speakers are behind. If you have a smart TV, are behind the speaker, and that sound is bouncing off the wall.
Okay.
Okay, so that's reflective. And then a radio, which is usually 5 feet off the ground, you have it on a kitchen counter or on a shelf somewhere, that's above your cat's ears.
Mm.
So I feel very strongly about this. I know some people just use Alexa. They'll say, okay, Alexa, play spa music for my dog, and they close the door and they expect that to work for their pet. And maybe it does, but my Bluetooth speakers are really designed to be near the pet because, for example, if a thunderstorm does roll by your home and your cat is home alone, that is going to be a major stress for your cat. And I know people think, okay, these are just animals, but over time, when a cat's ears, we'll just talk about cats and or dogs, over time, once that loud sound is hitting the eardrum, that affects the cilia, which is behind the eardrum. And the cilia is really what determines hearing health. And that cilia starts to flatten. This is over time. And this is where hearing starts to diminish in an animal.
So your Bluetooth speakers, are they automatically designed to play at a certain volume that is heard by the cats, not too loud, not too soft?
Exactly. You want to be able to control that. Not only that, but they feel the music.
And then do the pet parents put that Bluetooth speaker on the floor so
Yeah,
that it's
they
at the
can.
best
Yes.
placement?
Yes,
Okay.
they can, or near where the cat is going. But I would say 9 out of 10 times, if you put the Bluetooth speaker on the floor, the cat will come and sit next to the speaker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
If you've listened to this podcast for long, you know that in addition to being passionate about music, I am also passionate about natural health and well-being. So I was intrigued to learn about an all-natural toothpaste developed by a biologic holistic dentist to effectively clean and protect teeth and strengthen enamel without fluoride or the many chemicals that are ubiquitous in the commercial toothpaste that I've always used without a second thought. What really caught my attention was that one of these dentist products was specially formulated for sensitive teeth, which I have thanks to gum recession. I was a little skeptical that an all-natural product would provide adequate sensitivity protection, but after trying it for several months, I am a fan. What clinched the deal was going to my 6-month dental cleaning and having my hygienist rave about the whiteness of my teeth. To learn more about the Living Well Sensitive Tooth Powder and their other products and get 10% off your order, check out the link in the show notes or use coupon code MUSICENHANCES10 at livingwellwithdrmichelle.com. So you sell these Bluetooth speakers that are pre-programmed with species-specific music. In this
Yeah,
case, we're talking about cats, of course.
yes.
Is the music also available on Spotify? I know you mentioned CDs were used back, in
Back in
mule
the day.
days. Or is it the Bluetooth speaker really the only way to access and play the music?
Well, up and coming in March, I have a patent for the first free pet hearing test for dogs and cats.
Ooh, yes. Tell us some more about this. So this is something new on the horizon that
Yes,
listeners
but
are
I
getting a sneak peek at here.
you are the first. So, I've already done the testing of 25,000 dogs and cats worldwide,
Wow.
because the test is available on the Pet Acoustics website.
Yes.
It takes a few minutes to do, and then you get an email result of if it's broken down into high frequency, mid frequency, and low frequency hearing.
So this
Uh,
is a hearing test for your pet,
yeah, yeah,
and it's for dogs, cats?
dogs and cats,
Okay.
dogs and cats. There are only two other methods that are used in the world. One is veterinarians will click behind the ear of a dog or a cat and just make an observation and say, yeah, your dog and cat hears. Or you can take it to a veterinarian that has the Bayer brainstem machines, which are sensors that go onto the pet's body. I'm sure that's going to be highly stressful for them. But,
And
that's,
probably more expensive than your online test, which I think
oh,
is free,
yeah,
right?
yes, yes, yes. It's definitely more expensive. Um, and so I've already done a published and peer reviewed study in the International Animal Health Journal based on 4,000 dog and cat data from doing this test. And lo and behold, they're just like humans. We start off with great high frequency hearing, and then as we age, this diminishes as soon as a dog or a cat becomes a senior. A little bit later, for a cat, they will maintain their hearing slightly, but you have to anticipate that your dog or cat will be losing their hearing to some degree. And what this does, it shows maybe your dog or cat is not responding to you as well in their senior year, but they will still respond at some level. So this will help a person just determine if they've just lost their high frequency hearing, but can still hear mids and lows.
Okay. So it's very similar to your hearing test that's currently available on your website, but it will be available in app form.
It'll be an app form globally. All you have to do is, and for veterinarians to be able to just take this, or you're just at home, you can taste it to taste it. You can, I must be hungry. It's lunchtime. You'll be able to just test it from your iPhone or any device. But in addition to that, there will be a subscription for music for dogs and cats that you can have on an app form, which is very exciting for me because then it'll just broaden the use of the music in so many, many more ways.
Sure. If a cat gets a test result on their hearing that indicates that they're losing the higher frequency end, are there recommendations that you give in terms of how to play your music for them so that they're
Yeah.
still
Yes,
okay?
going to be a blog page for advice on how to utilize the music. Yes,
Beautiful.
it's going to be out there.
And
Uh,
when is the app available and what will it be called?
it's going to be called Pet Acoustics,
Okay.
and it will be available. We just learned today, the first week in March. And if your listeners are really keen on being the first to know, if they go onto the Pet Acoustics website and join the newsletter, they will get that information. And anybody who joins the newsletter, we give discounts too for all of our products.
Wonderful. And I'm just looking at my tentative release date. It looks like when this episode releases, that app will probably be available right around that time. So hopefully, as listeners are hearing this, they can immediately go to either Google Play or their Apple Store and go ahead and download that. Is that where the app will be available?
Everywhere. Yep. Google Play,
Okay.
Google Store. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any other resources that you want to mention that Pet Acoustics offers to cats and cat parents? I know you mentioned the blog, and that I noticed there was a great article on your blog on adoption and socialization for cats, helping cats thrive in their new environment. So definitely, I encourage listeners to go check out your blog. Any other resources on your website or offered by Pet Acoustics that you want cats and their parents to know about?
Yeah, there are 3 websites that have a great deal of information. One is called the International Cat Care. That's a trusted source for health and behavior. The Cornell Feline Health Center, they give advice on cat health. Highly recommend them. And there's also American Association of Feline Practitioners, and they recommend veterinary cat care. You know, a lot of pet parents don't bring their cats to the veterinarian for checkups
Oh,
be-
okay.
because it's so hard to get them, one, into the cat carrier,
Oh,
and two, cats have terrible motion sickness in a car.
yeah.
And I can share, well, I think we're going to have a story.
Yeah, if you're ready to get into that, let's go ahead and do that. And before we do that, I just want to mention I've been in the world of music pretty much my entire adult life, my career. First, I taught piano lessons for decades. And then more recently, I'm working for a music retail store. It's the Steinway dealer here in Minneapolis. So I'm constantly working with musicians as my colleagues and as my customers. And I have noticed very anecdotally, there's nothing scientific about this, but it does seem like musicians really have an affinity for cats. I just feel like there's a lot of musicians who love cats, who have cats as pets. And it sort of makes sense because a lot of musicians do have very unpredictable schedules. Cats tend to be much more independent than dogs. They can be
And
left.
nocturnal.
Okay, yes. They can be left for longer periods of time. But even my music teacher friends who have pretty consistent schedules, maybe teaching in a private music studio, a lot of them have cats. So I'm really excited. I'm thrilled to have this conversation and put it out there for listeners to learn
we
more about it.
we
Go
mu-
ahead.
we musicians need an audience.
Have you noticed that also about musicians?
Yes, we need an
Okay.
audience, and the cats come right in, and they're our audience. So
I mean, I certainly know many musicians who have dogs as well, and I know you have a dog, but it definitely seems the overwhelming majority of pet owners who are musicians have cats over
you know,
dogs.
I'll share with you. I live next door to Bill Evans. I was his neighbor for 2 years and friend, and had the privilege of knowing Bill Evans and hearing him play music. And he had 2 Siamese cats.
Really
Yes, yes. Uh,
interesting. Well, I know your coda has it's a story about a cat, but when we were discussing this, you happened to mention something about vets who are prescribing music over Prozac for cats. And I thought, wow, I need to hear more about that. So tell us more about that.
well, I had a friend who told me about this man. He was a Broadway producer, and he would travel with his cat, his beloved cat, from, New York to Connecticut. But the cat had terrible, terrible time in the car, terrible time with motion sickness. And so the veterinarian recommended Prozac to just calm the cat down. But after a time, the cat started getting kind of secondary responses to the Prozac, and it was making him sick. So my friend recommended Pet Tunes Feline, the small Bluetooth preloaded speaker, and the
So
guy,
that's your Pet Acoustics
yeah,
speaker,
that's
right?
Pet Acoustics, Pet
Okay.
Tunes Feline, and he used it in the car for his cat, and he noticed that the cat wasn't throwing up, wasn't queasy. By the time he got there, everything was fine. And he explained to the veterinarian, and they checked out the cat. And he said, you can take your cat off Prozac and just use the music. And I'm going to start recommending Pet Tunes Feline to my cat clients instead of Prozac,
Wow.
which was, I mean, I've had so many business joys from hearing wonderful stories from different customers. This was wonderful to hear. And I'm starting to hear other veterinarians are recommending pet tunes for their clients first rather than putting them on. The world has changed. Instead of we would just pill animals
Yes.
all the time, but now we're holistic.
Yeah.
We're approaching them in such a gentler, kinder way. So
Yes.
it's very rewarding to hear this.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So that's very exciting. I recently, and this is bridging back to humans, and I love this story, and this is a week old. So a woman called and said, I want to tell you this story. My uncle is in hospice, and he is dying. And a friend of mine had brought over your Pet Tunes canine to my house and said, I heard that your uncle's hospice facility only has TVs. So there's only TVs, and there's no music channel on the TVs. And TV these days is has a lot of unpleasant
Yes.
things,
Right.
and imagine this 92-year-old man is dying, and his environment is either silence or not good TV.
Yes.
So she brought over the Pet Tunes canine and started playing it for her uncle, and he was smiling and soothed, and
Um,
he loved it. He loved it.
oh.
It was a gentle environment. Not only that, but her family who surrounded him, they appreciated it as well. And so she said to me, I bought 20 of your Pet Tunes canine,
Mm.
and I'm in honor of my uncle, I'm donating them to each room in the facility so that other people can have that soothing and calm and gentleness.
Oh, wow. Oh, love that. Boy, and how rewarding for you to hear that as the innovator and the creator of this music and this product and
Yes.
all the research that you put into that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's incredible. Well, the last couple topics here that we've covered in the last couple of minutes could easily be your coda. And so I'll just ask, were one of those your coda? I mean, as you know, I ask all my guests to close out our conversation with a musical ending, a coda, by sharing a song or story about a moment that music enhanced your life. Did we just have that, or do you have another song or story that you wanted to share in closing?
Well, first of all, my mantra is calm is health
Mm.
and balance is longevity.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's a great way to one thing we didn't even have time to cover is how the music, through affecting the cat's calmness and just reducing agitation, all that, how that has the effect on their health. But
Oh, yeah.
what you just
I
mentioned sort of bridges that gap there.
I can give a brief rundown. So, calm boosts immune function.
Mm.
And cats are very sensitive creatures, as they say. They can get infections easily, a lot of stomach upsets. It improves heart health by having less stress reduction so that the HRV is of a higher number. It enhances digestion for cats, having a stress-free environment. And people can use the music in many different situations, grooming, bringing it to the vet, although a lot of veterinarians have the music already in their exam rooms.
Excellent.
The car rides, travel during thunderstorms, any time that there's going to be, I mean, a lot of people play the music 24/7
Mm.
and people get creative. So there's just, many, many uses. And it supports their mental well-being. It gives cats a sense of balance in their lives and it calms anxiety. And animals get depressed. Another cat has died, and that cat feels the emptiness and loneliness of that
Yeah.
experience. So it helps behavioral problems. It's a very gentle, simple, elegant way of helping animals feel balance.
Thank you so much to Janet for joining us today and for all she does to enhance the lives of pets and their parents and veterinarians, trainers, and shelters with music. A quick update on the new Pet Acoustics app we discussed. The new estimated launch day is April 20th. Be sure to join the Pet Acoustics newsletter to be notified as soon as that app is available. There's a link in the show notes to sign up, as well as lots of other links, like to the free home pet hearing test that we talked about, and also Janet's books and more. You'll also find a transcript of this conversation and related episodes you may enjoy, including my first conversation with Janet and episodes related specifically to dogs, horses, and a couple other animals. If you know of someone who would enjoy this episode, perhaps a pet parent, a sitter, or veterinarian, please share it with them. It's easy to do right in your podcast listening app. Just look for the share feature. All Enhanced Life with Music episodes are evergreen, so be sure to check out the back catalog for more ways that music can make your life better. If there's a topic or guest that you would like to hear featured on the show, or if you have a question for me that you'd like to hear answered on the show, please let me know. You can always connect with me on email, mindy@mpetersonmusic.com, Facebook, Instagram, X, or LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing this show. Until next time, may your life be enhanced with music.